Maybe I can just start the interview, maybe if you are okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wait a second. I'll just start in Korean first for our audience and then go through the interview. 안녕하십니까, 블록미디어 시청자 여러분. 저는 블록미디어 정윤재라고 합니다. 오늘 만나볼 분은 D3 도마 프로토콜의 마이클 호 Web3로 해서 도메인을 토큰화하는 프로젝트를 진행하고 있습니다. Hello, Michael. Could you briefly introduce yourself and about Doma Protocol D3?
Sure. Hey, Tony. I'm Michael Ho. I'm one of the co-founders and chief business officer at D3. We're launching the Doma Protocol, which is the world's first purpose-built blockchain designed to tokenize the internet's real estate domain names. There's about 370 million of them today, and our goal is to leverage blockchain and programming logic to turn them into liquid, programmable, real-world assets. We call this new category DomainFi or domain finance, and the goal is to bring more liquidity and composability and more tools for domain owners and domains themselves.
Okay, you guys have been long in the testnet, and I heard that your mainnet has launched on November 25th. So what does this launch mean for D3 and the broader domain industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've been working on this for many, many years. Mainnet is the moment that we shift from just being a participant in the industry and an operator to the core infrastructure for the entire economy. For the domain industry, it's really the first time that real DNS domains can move with instant on-chain finality, right? Instead of the traditional process, which is very painful, very manual. Typically, when you're dealing with a domain, you have to email someone on the other side. It takes weeks and months. You typically use third-party services like escrow agents. You also probably use brokers. It's a very manual process. So blockchain enables us to create a common standard that everyone in the entire domain industry can use, whether you're a registrant, whether you're a registrar, whether you're a Web3 developer that wants to build on top of the DNS, or even DeFi protocols that want to financialize domain ownership. So we are creating these universal standards that bring everyone together. So it's really bridging both Web2 and Web3 together.
Yeah, you guys are like tokenizing the domain industry, and the domain industry is large, but I heard it's yet inefficient. So what is the primary problem that Doma is aiming to solve?
Yeah, one of the first problems we're attacking is discoverability. Typically today, domain trades are very slow, they're opaque and expensive, and they're also hard to find, right? And so this is why for many, many decades, you've had to use a broker. They charge you 20, 30% in fees, even if you're using a marketplace, right? We're essentially able to turn domains into tokenized assets on chain, right? So now you have ownership of it in your wallet. Now that can be used in a variety of apps outside the registrar's ecosystem. So traditionally, people just use domains. They either hosted a website or they just kept it in their portfolio. But for the first time ever, you're actually able to bring a representation of that ownership or that usage rights. You can bring that to other developers, other apps, and you can have more utility come out of owning a domain. That makes sense.
I heard that Doma Protocol is described as the first DNS and ICANN compliant blockchain. So could you explain about what is DNS and what is ICANN, and why is this compliance essential, and what technical requirements were needed to achieve it?
Yeah, great question. ICANN is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. They are a nonprofit, multi-stakeholder governing body of the internet. They assign and delegate domain top-level domain extensions like TLDs at the root level. They create the policies for an open and safe and secure internet. And so everyone that owns a domain, whether it's a .com, whether it's a .ai, .org, or even a .kr in this context, has to subscribe to certain rules and regulations that were agreed upon to maintain the safety and the scalability of the namespace. So for us, it's very important that any tokenized domains we bring on chain respect a lot of those existing policies that were put in place to protect users, right? So if we cannot do that correctly, then the tokenized assets are effectively fake, right? Thankfully, everything we've built from day one is meant to be compliant and in line with a lot of the rules and regulations that are set forth. This includes everything from registrars adopting the same standards. It includes KYC, transfer restrictions of assets, a lot of similarities that you might see in a real estate industry, except with domains, it's a global asset class, right? So there's one set of rules and policies that everyone has to follow.
Yeah, as you said, I think that domain tokenization is closely tied to regulation. So after mainnet, which compliance area will D3 prioritize maybe?
So we essentially cover all compliance today. So we cannot tokenize a domain if we do not cover certain compliance policies within the DNS system. So when you go today and you go to a registrar that is supporting tokenization, whatever you're doing is already compliant. So we're very happy in that aspect. Some things we are working on in the roadmap include greater usage and utility of a domain name. So if you actually own a tokenized representation of this, what additional utility does that unlock, right? And for many people, one of the first steps is to map a wallet address, right? Ethereum, Solana, whatever chain you want, we can actually embed these natively into the domain text record, right? So we're actually working on a lot of exciting interoperability and identity benefits that come with being able to program a domain.
Okay, so the Doma mainnet introduces ownership tokens and fractional rights. So how do these unlock new capabilities compared to traditional Web 2 domain management?
Sure. So in Web 2, ownership and usage of a domain are bundled together, right? It's kind of like all or nothing. So if I own a very premium asset, not many people can own it, right? No, actually, only I can own it and only I can use it, right? With Doma, you're essentially able to decompose ownership and usage rights very separately and programmatically, right? So you don't need a middleman, or you don't need a trusted system to dictate, certain, frameworks or processes, right? So when you're able to do that, you're able to create synthetic rights within a domain. So one example is I can issue 10 subdomains, and they can all be tokens within the parent domain token, right? Now that allows me to give you one of these subdomains, right, through tokenized ownership, right? And you might have a finite period of ownership, right? It can also dictate economic rights. It can dictate DNS control, right? So essentially, we're able to create a lot of these microeconomies within a domain ownership, right? Similar to how you would rent out a house, right? But you don't want to give up ownership of the house, right? There's a very similar construct to that. So with Doma, you can actually buy and trade the internet for the first time ever. So we're very excited about that.
So with the mainnet, DomainFi becomes a new category because there were no category called DomainFi before Doma put this up. So what practical use cases and market opportunities does DomainFi unlock?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first step is we want to modernize trade, right? So the domain market is over $350 billion of asset value, but a lot of that has not been liquid for many, many years. So first thing we want to do is bring the cost to transact and the time to transact down substantially with instant settlement, right? So creating a Web 2 to Web 3 order book for the first time. We also are launching a liquid domains platform, which allows you to turn ownership of a very valuable premium domain into a bunch of fungible tokens that have that many people can buy into, right? Our future roadmap for DomainFi includes a lot of financial products, which includes lending, leasing, agent infrastructure. So financially, it's about turning this asset class into something that's more liquid and more dynamic, and creating a lot more utility from ownership and usage rights. It's really the same playbook that we've seen with a lot of other RWAs and stablecoins, right? The first step is to digitize and tokenize them. And the next step is what additional utility can you bring on top of that when it's on chain?
So also partnerships with IONOS, IONOS, and InterNetX are key assets. So how will these partnerships support ecosystem growth after your mainnet launch?
Yeah, there are two different partnerships. The IONOS partnership helps us connect the Ethereum identity and the Ethereum community, the naming ecosystem, and connect it to real DNS-based domains, so that any user that owns a .com, for example, can have one name that works across both the internet as well as Ethereum, which is arguably the largest, most scaled one after Bitcoin, right? The IONOS InterNX partnership is a Web2 partner that has agreed to bring their users and their assets on chain through our gateway, which is Doma, the protocol. IONOS InterNX is one of Europe's largest registrar networks. And so being able to connect the dots between real Web2 users, real Web2 assets with our network is transformational, right? So we're doing work on both sides of the equation to help, build a bridge.
Okay, so I heard that there are some premium domain token series launching on December 1st. So what is the strategic intent behind it, and how do you expect the market to respond?
Yeah, the premium tokens launching on December 1st, the premium domains launching on December 1st through our Liquid Launchpad is our way of showcasing that blue chip domains, high quality domains can be truly liquid assets, right? Just like a beachfront property or like a skyrise condo in Seoul or Busan, right? In practice, a lot of these high quality names for many years have lacked a lot of liquidity and depth. But for the first time ever, we're actually able to bridge that and provide a means for better price discovery, better transparency, and discovery from day one. So strategically, it does help us set a benchmark and a case study for what DomainFi can do for every single domain in the world. And then also what it does is it's helping us bridge both professional investors in the domain industry with more retail users, right? Which is I think a strategic benefit of crypto and Web3. So we do expect over time a very strong overlap between existing domain investors and crypto traders who understand scarcity value, who understand ownership of real world assets.
So you are going to keep up these domain launchpads keep coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's actually 379 million domains as of last quarter on the internet, right? So there's a lot of valuable internet real estate that hasn't been discovered that's probably sitting in the registrar somewhere that's not being used. So our goal is to bring more discovery there, and hopefully there might be someone else that wants to own a piece of that asset or someone else that wants to put it to use.
Okay, so also I think D3 is preparing multiple programs to builders because the builder ecosystem is also important. So after mainnet, what opportunities will be most accessible for maybe developers?
Yeah, the easiest on-ramps will be integrating our APIs and our smart contracts that enable you to show tokenized domains inside wallets. We also want to promote adoption of our protocol and the assets that we're bringing on chain. So anyone is welcome to build their own app interfaces, launch new DeFi products that leverage these on-chain assets, right? You can kind of think about Doma Protocol as a bridge, tokenization bridge. We bring the assets on chain, but ultimately it is really up to the users on how they want to leverage or manipulate on-chain ownership. We have a dedicated developer fund. It's called the Doma Forge program. It's a $1 million USDC pool dedicated to helping incubate and co-finance a lot of these early use cases. And we also have an EVM as well as a Solana bridge rolling out so that you can plug in real DNS assets through Doma very quickly.
Also, I have a question if there will be any opportunities for maybe DeFi users to do some playbooks on D3 or Doma Protocol because they're looking for opportunities. Because I think the market is not very good. There are not much pools for DeFi players to do something. So maybe there will be opportunities on Doma Protocol.
Yeah, I would encourage you to check out Doma.xyz. We are purpose built for the domain industry. We are uniquely bringing on over 30 million of these unique premium assets. And there's many, many DeFi opportunities, both within the protocol level, as well as individually asset by asset, right? So one of the first domains that we're launching on December 1st is a domain software.ai, right? Very, very valuable name. Everyone knows .ai. It's a very hot keyword. So you can almost think about it as a chance to buy a piece of valuable internet real estate.
Okay. Doma aims to bridge the Web2 domain system with Web3. So what long-term vision is the project ultimately pursuing?
The long-term vision is that every real internet domain, whether it's a .com, .ai, or the next wave of Web3 extensions like a .sol, lives as a true programmable asset both on the internet and also on any blockchain that you choose. So Doma is able to bridge a single canonical state of ownership that's shared across both the DNS and any blockchain of choice, right? So it kind of allows you to let domains act as a default identifier for any website, any wallet, even any agent eventually, or any application that wants to have cash flows, permissions, governance, all enforced on chain. So we view the internet as the right universal standard to define a lot of these primitives.
Lastly, do you have any message for the Korean market and investors, maybe?
Absolutely. We've visited Korea many times. Korea has some of the most passionate and sophisticated traders, builders, and users and communities in the world. So we definitely see it as a core market for DomainFi. And our vision is to enable countries like Korea and their users to help shape how domains will be traded, how they're used in the next generation, especially as we enter the future, which is a very agentic internet, right? I think a lot of the Asian countries, especially Korea, are very forward-leaning in defining some of these early use cases. So we're excited to see how tokenized domains and being able to own the internet can create some of these new use cases, whether it's financial use cases or whether it's like interoperable identity.
Yeah, I think that's up for today's interview, and I'll do the closing line, and then maybe you can wrap up the interview for today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. 네, 오늘은 이렇게 도마 프로토콜의 마이클 호 공동 창업자와 함께 만나보았는데요. 이렇게 도메인 파일을 선도하고 있는 도마 프로토콜에 앞으로도 많은 관심 부탁드립니다. 오늘도 시청해 주셔서 감사합니다.